you want to deepen and strengthen your relationship with God? Do you want a better understanding of the Bible? Then join us for the next few minutes as we study God's Word together on the Christ-Centered Woman's Podcast with your host, Jessica Hale. Hello, and welcome to the Christ-Centered Woman's Podcast, one of our anchored and alive editions where we emphasize mental health. I also wanted to bring awareness that this is May, which means it is Mental Health Awareness Month. Our rest of the story study over the past few weeks has had us look at the anatomy of a hard heart in Pharaoh. And I think it's easy to sometimes look at that biblical account and look at Pharaoh and think to ourselves, I would never be that stubborn. But if we are honest, many of us struggle with some of the same things that had Pharaoh trapped in his own wants and his own thinking. It made me think about something that we all have, and that is choice. But more specifically, the difference between reaction and response. Whenever we do something, we make the choice whether we are going to react to it or respond to it. And there is a difference. Let's think about Pharaoh. Every time a plague hit, he had an automatic knee-jerk reaction. When the frogs came, he panicked and he begged for help. As soon as the frogs were gone, he hardened his heart. He was living in a continuous reflexive cycle. So I want you to think about this for a moment. A reaction is defined as an automatic impulsive move that's driven by our brain that handles fight, flight, or freeze. So when we react to something, we are not using our God-given reasoning. We're just bouncing off of triggers. That means we are also making decisions that are reactive because they're based off of emotion. Reactions are fueled often by past trauma, pride, or fear. If somebody criticizes you and you immediately snap back, that's a reaction. If a bill comes in the mail and you immediately spiral into a panic attack, that's a reaction. Like Pharaoh, oftentimes we too can live in reaction mode. And because of this, we lose our freedom. We are no longer in control. Our circumstances are what is pulling the strings in our life. I want to compare this with Moses. Let's look at him. He was a man who used to be reactive. If you remember Moses 40 years earlier, he killed an Egyptian in a fit of rage. But by the time he stands before Pharaoh, something in Moses has changed. In Exodus chapter 8, verse 12, it says, Then Moses and Aaron went out from Pharaoh, and Moses cried out to the Lord concerning the frogs, which he had brought against Pharaoh. So notice here, Moses did not snap at Pharaoh. He didn't argue. What did he do? He went out and cried out to the Lord. Because of this, Moses created space. Here we learn the definition between reaction and response. So here is what a response is. A response requires a pause. It is a choice made after reflection. In mental health, a lot of times we call this self-regulation. Between the trigger, which was Pharaoh's stubbornness, and the action, which was the next plague, Moses went to God. He took the stimulus and brought it to the Creator before he moved. So how can we apply this to the rest of the story that we've been looking at? How does this help link the Bible as one book? We see the ultimate response in Jesus. When he was reviled, he did not revile in return, and we can find that in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 23. Jesus chose his words based on the authority of his Father, not the aggression of his enemies. In James chapter 1, verses 19 and 20, it reads, So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. So what's the connection here? James in this passage is giving us a blueprint for mental health. Swift to hear means gathering data or reflecting. Slow to speak means creating space. Slow to wrath means choosing the proper response. When we are slow, we are operating under God's authority. We are saying, my peace is not dependent on this situation going my way. My peace is dependent on my trust in God. So for the rest of what we have left in May, I want to give you a mental health tool that can help you find balance between your triggers and your actions. And now remember, with everything that we do in this podcast on mental health, it is not meant to be a substitution if you do need mental health assistance. Again, I do advise you seek out a counselor in your area, but make sure you get help. But I did want to leave you with this coping tool. When you start to feel heat rising in your chest, and for a lot of times when we saw in the case of Pharoah, it was this instant reaction. What you need to do when you start to feel that coming up is just stop. Take 3 deep breaths. And what this does is it physically signals your nervous system to go from reaction to reason. And then ask yourself, am I reacting to my fear or am I responding to my God? And also label what is triggering you. Instead of saying, oh, she made me so mad, say, I am feeling a reaction to her words. By labeling it, you are taking the authority back instead of the emotion and the reaction taking over. Proverbs chapter 16 verse 32 reminds us, he who is slow to anger is better than the mighty, and he who rules his spirit than he who takes a city. So Pharaoh had the mighty army in the city, but he couldn't rule his own spirit. Moses was a shepherd because he could rule his spirit through God's power. He was truly the powerful one. And your mental health is not measured by your circumstances. It is measured by how you choose to respond. 2 questions I have for you for reflection. Is there one recurring situation in your life right now where you feel like you're reacting like Pharaoh? You're panicking, you're hardening, or you're lashing out? And why does that situation make you feel like you have to harden yourself to survive? And the second question I have for you is I want you to read James chapter 1, again, verses 19 and 20. We did talk about those, but why does the wrath of man, or our quick reactions, never produce the righteousness of God? How does being slow to speak actually protect your mental well-being and your relationships? Thank you for listening and studying with me today. I hope that you have a blessed rest of your day. And remember, in all that you do, keep Christ-centered.